What's up, guys? Welcome to a second round prediction video, our first of four. And we're going to be talking about the Edmonton Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights. So, the Edmonton Oilers beat LA, and the Vegas Golden Knights beat the Winnipeg Jets. For many, it's not a surprise. For us, we thought that both series was going to head to 7 games, but that was not the case. Both teams outplayed the teams that they faced. Winnipeg had a very depleted lineup, many injuries before the matchup and during the matchup. And the Vegas Golden Knights take advantage of that. And the Edmonton Oilers beat the LA Kings. It was a rematch of last year's first round series, and Edmonton prevails once again, outplaying LA. But we're here to talk about the Edmonton Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights in the second round. And this is the first time these two teams face off against each other in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams match up. But I'm going to start off right off the bat. I do believe the Edmonton Oilers will beat the Vegas Golden Knights. Yes, Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Evander Kane, basically their top six really stood up big time in the first matchup versus the LA Kings. But their bottom six, the last 2 games versus the LA Kings, really stepped up. Klim Kostin with 2 goals in the last game against the LA Kings, and 2 games before that, Nick Bjugstad with 2 goals. So their bottom six really stepped up. And yesterday Nick Bjugstad was centering the second line, so he gets promoted. So I do believe that they will continue to get better, and their bottom six will continue to prevail. And Killer Yamamoto scores the winning goal to eliminate the LA Kings yesterday. It was 4-4, and then he scores, it's 5-4, and they win. And I'm really excited and happy for Edmonton Oilers fans to see how far this team could go, because when the bottom six is doing well and the top six is obviously expected to do well and they're doing amazing, Leon Draisaitl is second in points in terms of this whole playoff so far. Seeing Evan Bouchard being their best defenseman points wise is really exciting to see. And Matthias Ekholm is continuing his dominance with the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, and I think for the Oilers, I want to give credit to the Oilers' depth. I know you guys ripped us in the comments about the comments that I made specifically about the Oilers not having depth. Listen, they played a good series. I think LA gave them a good run for their money. In terms of the games, they were close, even games in pretty much every game of the series, barring I think one or two. Um, and the others played well, and you can't take that away from them. Their depth played well. Klim Kostin had a really good series. Obviously, McDavid, Draisaitl, we know how good they are and how capable they are. And like you said, Evan Bouchard played a big role. I think for me, the one criticism that I think Oilers fans may agree with me on is Stuart Skinner wasn't the best, right? Statistically, he wasn't the best. He didn't have the best games in this series. I know LA gave him a hard time, and Edmonton were still able to find a way to win, which is what makes good playoff teams. But if you look at his stats, he was 3-2 in the playoffs with a 343 goals against and an 890 save percentage. And he did also, Jack Campbell did also come in relief of him for one of the games in which they were down 4-1. They came back and won 5-4 in overtime, and Campbell made 27 to 28 saves. For me, this is where I think the flaw is going to be in Edmonton, right? Is it going to be a situation where Stuart Skinner coming up against arguably a better opponent in the Vegas Golden Knights, is he going to be able to bounce back from his series one starts against the LA Kings, or is it going to be a situation where his struggles are going to continue? And I think that that's where Edmonton is going to have to, I guess, improve on, essentially a little bit more defensively and obviously in net as well. Whereas if you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, credit where credit's due. Their top guys showed up, right? Mark Stone came back from injury, was fantastic. Chandler Stevenson was fantastic. Brett Howden was fantastic. Mike Amadio had a really good series. Jack Eichel in his first career playoff series was solid as well. They had guys play all across the lineup that did really well. And then you also look at the fact that Alex Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore were really good defensively as well. Yes, I know they were playing a depleted Winnipeg team who didn't have Josh Morrissey, who didn't have Nick Ehlers, who didn't have Cole Perfetti. at times as well. So there was a lot of situations there. They lost Mark Scheifele midway through the series as well. So obviously Vegas had an easier time. The thing is that for me, it goes beyond, like, once you get past the first round, it's about being consistent and sticking to your game plan, but also making sure that guys step up. And they've had guys step up all across the board, from offense to defense to even goaltending. Laurent Brossoit finished 4-1 with a 915 save percentage. To me, that's very impressive considering the fact that Logan Thompson's been out, and their goaltending situation's a little bit confusing because they don't necessarily have that elite goaltender. Brossoit's played well, and he's played really, really well since the regular season, and obviously in the playoffs as well. I'm gonna, just based on this series, if I look at it at face value, I think it's probably a very even series. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting and fun series. It's two teams that play very offensive and two teams that like to score goals. I think it's going to be a very interesting series in the sense where, is Vegas going to be able to kind of repeat what they did against Winnipeg against Edmonton, or is Edmonton going to find a way to do it? And obviously, look, when you've got arguably the two best players in the world in Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, it's a tough task, right? But it's a task that I think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be able to deal with. The only thing is that they have lost Edmonton 3 times in the regular season, whereas I think Vegas beat them once in the 4 meetings that they had. So Edmonton does have the upper hand in terms of head-to-head matchups between each team. But the playoffs is different. Anything's possible. I think that in order for Edmonton to win this series, they're going to have to be better defensively, and their goaltending is going to have to hold up. If those things can happen, I do think they win this series. I think it probably goes to 6 or 7 games as well. If Stuart Skinner continues to play the way he played in the Kings series, and they decide to go with Jack Campbell, and he cannot be the difference maker as well, Edmonton's going to struggle, because I think Vegas is a better team all around than LA. I know LA played a really good series. They had a lot of fun. I think LA gave Edmonton a good run for their money, but Vegas is a different beast. They've been a different beast for a while. And if Laurent Brossoit can continue what he did against Winnipeg, I think it's going to be a long series for the Oilers. But I'm not going to bet against Connor McDavid. I'm going Oilers in 7. But that's with the expectation that Stuart Skinner is going to bounce back. And that's with the expectation that the Oilers are going to continue to fire on all cylinders offensively.
I'm going with the Oilers in 6. Brossoit does eliminate his former starting goaltender in Connor
Yeah,
Hellebuck. He was the backup goalie for Winnipeg for many years, so that was a great storyline. Connor McDavid versus Jack Eichel.
yeah.
That's an interesting matchup too, because Connor McDavid was drafted first overall in his respective draft year, and Jack Eichel was drafted second. So that's going to be amazing to see them face up against each other. So I'm really, really, really excited to see how that pans out. Also, Jay Woodcroft is the first Edmonton Oilers head coach since Ron Lowe to win back-to-back seasons. And the last time was in 1998. So that's really impressive. So Woodcroft, continuing to prove that he's the man for the job for the Edmonton Oilers. Like you were talking about Stuart Skinner, I do believe he bounces it back, but if he doesn't, um, Jack Campbell, based off how he played in the playoffs, and really making key saves when they were down and they end up winning in OT, and there was a fantastic comeback. A lot of credit goes to Jack Campbell because he played amazing, and he made really key saves, and obviously the offense stepped up as well, and the whole team stepped up in general. But Jack Campbell made some really key saves to keep them in the game and help them in their comeback win against the LA Kings. But I would like to also point out that there's a lot of people on the Edmonton Oilers that got a lot of points, uh, except for Broberg. So in terms of their depth, yeah, everyone stepped up, defense, offense, everyone. But in terms of Vegas, there's a lot of players that went pointless. So in terms of depth, I do have to go with the Edmonton Oilers on this one. In terms of top 6, it's Edmonton. In terms of defense, I think it's pretty even. Petrangelo was arguably one of the best defensemen in the whole first round out of
Yeah, he
all
was
the
solid.
teams. He was very, very solid. In terms of goaltending, um, I mean, if Logan Thompson is ready and Jonathan Quick could, play lights out like he has in the past in the playoffs, they do win in terms of goalie depth, but at the same time, it's quality over quantity, and the Vegas Golden Knights have quantity in terms of goaltending, and the Edmonton Oilers have quality. They have two, solid guys that I think, you could rely on. But again, Jack Campbell, in terms of playoffs, he's a different beast. I said it in the first round episode against Edmonton and the LA Kings that Jack Campbell played very, very well for Toronto against Tampa Bay in last year's first round matchup, and
Yeah.
he outplayed Vasilevsky. So, I mean, we saw a little bit of that against the LA Kings when Jack Campbell was playing. So,
Mm.
I would really, really, keep a close eye in terms of Jack Campbell possibly getting a start at some point in this series. Uh,
Well, one of the things that I want to, sorry to interrupt you, but just one of the things to say as well. Um, for me, I think Stuart Skinner is given maybe a game, and I know people are going to look at it and say you're crazy. He won the first round. Yeah, he did. But when you're playing Vegas, Edmonton can't afford, especially with how good Vegas is, that they can't afford to go down in this series really early. I think to me it's very simple. If after game one, if Edmonton goes and scores five on the Edmonton, let's say Vegas wins game one 5-1, let's say, right? And let's say they take 25 shots, they score five goals, Stuart Skinner makes 20 saves. For me, game two, you go to Jack Campbell. Straight up, I think you go to Jack Campbell because I think at that point is now you're at a point where it's not necessarily a question of the Oilers can't win. It's a question of is this goaltender, finding a way. Is he not playing up to expectations? Because at the end of the day, both teams have ambitions to win the Stanley Cup, right? And if you're gonna go 4 rounds in the playoffs, you're gonna need goaltending to be solid, right? And Stuart Skinner in the first round was not solid. Jack Campbell came in the brief, like I said, brief moments that he came in, and played very well. And we know his history in the playoffs. And I think the Oilers, it's going to be a question of we're going to give Skinner a leash, but I don't know how big of a leash he's going to get, right? I don't know if it's going to be okay, game one, game two, and then we'll see, or if it's going to be okay if you don't perform and we go down in the series early, you're done, and Jack gets in. So that's where I think the question mark is for Edmonton. It's the only question mark I think the Oilers have. For Vegas, I mean, look, Brossoit's played well. They're going to ride with Brossoit. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. He hasn't given them a reason as to why they wouldn't. I think that right now the only replacement that I see, if it does happen, is Logan Thompson. If he does end up coming back at some point, if not, I think you ride with Brossoit because he's had a really good regular season and he's played well in the playoffs. So I don't see why you wouldn't. And I'm not too confident in Aiden Hill or Jonathan Quick at the moment. So for Vegas, I mean, they're kind of just relying on him. But for Edmonton, I mean, they have an option, and we'll see what happens after game one. I think Stuart Skinner starts game one, but I would not be surprised if he has a short leash.
Yeah, and in terms of looking at the playoff stats in the whole league, Edmonton has three players in the top 10. You have obviously Draisaitl and McDavid, but the most unlikeliest name is Bouchard. So hopefully he continues to play well and continues to be their best defenseman offensively. And the top 15, you have Mark Stone and Stevenson, who come to the conversation, both with 8 points. And it's so, so, so amazing to see Mark Stone bounce back so quickly after being out for such a long time and coming back and
Yep.
you know continuing his dominance essentially. And this is why they got a guy like Mark Stone for the Vegas Golden Knights to continue to help them be a successful team. So guys, we'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Who wins this matchup, the Edmonton Oilers or the Vegas Golden Knights? Make sure to write your comments in the comment section below. Hopefully, not as many hate comments as last time. Let's keep it PG, guys, but we're always down to debate. We're excited to see what you guys have in store for us. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Young Guns podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.